Okay, now let's get to the business. Kind of shiny here. Got my damn baby all. Yeah, fuck it. Too damn shiny. Now, back to what I was saying, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all niggas too long. I just wanted to add on to what I was saying when I ended the last video and make that a more teachable moment by adding on. And I'll let you fine ladies and gentlemen go on about your night. Now, what I was saying was, it was funny because when that transmission came through about the stoop thing, right? This being when I was saying about the stuck on stupid thing, it's funny how I'm telling you how the shit be really coming from places. You would think that was just a insult or something, but like I say, this the stairs, stoops, same thing. The stoop, and then those little particles of light are stuck on that stoop. But when that came through to me, Big came through, and was reminiscing on when dealing with memories of when he was chilling on the stoop, and C's came up when he was speaking to me. When he was chilling on the stoop, on the stoop with C's. Now I didn't really know when I was going to debut that information, but I just so happened to do that. The day that I just so happened to do it, it was Lil C's birthday and shit, which was crazy. You know, that's how, and that's what I'm saying. That's how you can that shit that confirms channels and shit. So you be like, I could have been, if I didn't know no better, I could have been like, well, information came, but when it, like I say, when it came, Big came with it. I had thoughts of Big when the Stoops, because when I thought about Stoops, first thing I thought about was New York and Big, and then C's came up. And then I started thinking about that dream I had where me and Big was playfully arguing about who's nice on the mic. In front of Walmart and shit, for whatever. I don't know why we was in front of fucking Walmart. But and it was me and Big, but it was more so Big was saying shit, and now this is real shit, but you will really know, at least his people would know this shit is real by what I'm gonna say, if what I think the case is, if what I think the case is what the case is. Now I think from what I'm getting out for that encounter we had, Chico when Big was here, was almost like a spokesman for Big. Not saying Big couldn't speak for itself, but like if it came to like a debate on who if Big was nicer than somebody or something. Based off this dream, I would say Chico would be probably one of the first guys to hop up and be like, man, you got my man fucked up, nigga. He the nicest up and woo woo. Because when me and Big was going back and forth, Chico was doing most of the talking because he was out there. It was me, it was Big, Chico, and a few other guys. I just remember Chico in particular because he was the main one talking. He was like, nigga, my nigga Big, woo. I was like, man, I was like, man, yeah. I was like, I say, shit, nigga, you probably was nicer than me back when you first came, when you debuted, because I had just really started rapping. I was like, right now, nigga, you crazy, nigga. We was playfully arguing, just like, going back and forth about, about who's nice on the mic or whatever. So me and Chico, it was more so, Big was like in the back talking, like, nigga, woo. But Chico was more so like the nigga, like, nigga, you got my man, nigga, what, man, nigga, ain't nobody nicer than me, which is how every MC's supposed to feel. So I was like, man, ain't no nigga nicer than me. Ooh, was like, yeah, he probably was nice to me back then, because I had really just started rapping. Woo, woo, woo. And Big was like, nigga, you got me fucked up. Woo, woo, woo. You know, we fired up out there. I really love that dream, man, because it was like, uh, I don't know, that was like, that was a moment for me, man. I was like, damn, when I woke up, I was like, damn, I met up with Big. You know, in the spirit realm, of course, but, you know, that was like that was like one of my wildest, craziest dreams or whatever. But Chico was like doing most of the talking. So I would think that if that based on that, like Chico was like a spokesman or was like a voice for Big or whatever. Not saying Big couldn't speak for himself, but he was probably one of the ones that was like one of the people from the clique that was like quick to really just be on it like that. Like, nigga, man, you got my man fucked up. Woo, woo, woo. So, we was at Walmart. We was in front of Walmart and shit, which was weird. But yeah, but he came through with that or whatnot. And I thought that was interesting. Well, talking about the stoop thing, and then when I finally said it, I turned around and found out it was C's birthday. So shout out to C's, man. That was wild. But yeah, so I'm gonna kick it around a little bit, man, but I ain't gonna stay too long. Just to, you know, but one thing I did want to say about the stoop thing was, now what I think, now just to make it a more teachable moment, or more, for what it's worth, I wouldn't really know how to go about using it to, what's the word I'm looking for? It may very well it can very well be used. I'm gonna say it can very well be used to correct the situation, but I'm not sure how capable we are of correcting the situation, because it's something that's really been this is deeper than just like a cancer or something. This is something that always happened. You know, you hear this from Asia, these type of situations from, you know, many moons ago. But stupid, when I say stupid, now take stupid and put that with dumb. Now when we say stupid, now dumb, and when you say dumb, there's two versions of dumb. You can say dumb as an insult, or dumb as like somebody that doesn't know something. But then you got the technical version of the word, or the other definition of the word, which is a dumb person who doesn't know how to speak, or who's incapable of speaking, who was born incapable of speaking or whatnot. When I put the two and two together. What I'm feeling is, or what I think is, stupid and dumb means the same thing. Like when we say stupid, you say somebody that that's dumb or doing something that don't make sense or whatever. But I think stupid and dumb means the same thing, because I think stupid also means not being able to speak, or you can use that. You can apply a definition of somebody who's incapable of speaking to that, because now I don't know what causes a person to be born without being able to speak, but when you look at it, it's two things. They can't necessarily speak, and if they do try to speak, you have some people that have a stutter, which is I would say a mild form of dumbness. They're not necessarily dumb. They're not dumb because they can speak, but it's a little harder to speak. Uh, but but then when you got dumb, it's somebody that's like, even when the person that's dumb, when they try to speak, they just make sound like or whatnot. Um, so what I said, all that to say this, um, I think that whatever that is, it comes from the same thing I'm showing you now. Like that bottom part where the stoop is the subconscious mind. So on the back of the mind, or where the medulla oblongata dwells at, which is a area of the mind that has a thick consistency of melanin. That's where your Akashic records and all that are. But what I think is, whatever it is something about the conscious mind, which is the light. Something with the conscious mind is, for lack of a better way of putting it, stuck in the back or whatnot. It's stuck it's stuck. It's like it didn't develop forward or something like that. Because like I said, I go back to like when my grandma was staying with my aunt. When my aunt died, that was almost, I got one auntie left from that era. I think I got like two. At least I got one in San Antonio left down there. And I think I got like one or two that actually stay out here. And I could be wrong, but I think that was like, I think what it was, they was close, and by her, when she stayed with, I think it, because when she passed away, my brother say she just stopped talking, and that's the same thing that happened when my mother passed with me. I didn't necessarily stop talking. I really couldn't, because like I said, the way it was, the crazy part of the way it was set up. But I didn't want to talk. But I had a neighbor that stayed across the way from me. So I was almost forced to talk, because it was like, when I would go outside, because one thing about me, I'm not going to stay in. I can't stay. That's what I was telling y'all the other day. I was telling y'all about going outside, not having no car and shit in the middle of the summer, no car with AC. I mean, that's a big, not having a car with no AC is a big deal for me, because I don't like staying in the house like that. I can, don't get me wrong, I can, hunker down and do things in the crib, but I'm not a fan of just staying in the house all day. I have to at least go outside and get some type of fresh air, especially when it's sunny and shit. I like to go out there and experience, the ambiance of the day or whatnot. But, so, when I would go outside, after she passed, when I would go outside or like walk to the store or whatever, or something like that, my neighbor would be on the porch. She was like, "What's up, boy?" Ooh, ooh. So, of course I had to go over there and talk to her or whatnot, because we was cool. And, although I wasn't necessarily in the mood to speak or talk, it wasn't really no way around that. And I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really feel like even speaking about my mother's passing. So I couldn't even tell her, I ain't really feeling no conversation right now because my mother just passed. I didn't even tell her till like about a couple months later. I didn't really want to talk about it with her. But I know that feeling. But it's just like with anything else. It ain't necessarily about just people passing. Or anything when something, something traumatic happens or whatever. Sometimes we tend to shut down. And I think what that shutting down is like the conscious mind kind of like retreating to the back or something like that. But it's not a severe case like people that are born not being able to speak. So, but I'm making the connection between the two. Cause like I said, it's like, and it makes sense because when you're talking, that's the conscious mind, whatever. But then when you're trying to silence the mind, not just stop speaking, but also stop the chatter in your mind, I would say you kind of, your conscious mind kind of retreat to the back a tad and calm down or goes into the darkness or whatnot. So I think what happens is something in the, for whatever reason, when people are born like that, it's the, something happens with them, with the conscious mind, where it's stuck in the subconscious or stuck in the back or something. So when they try to speak, it's like that's why it sound like, that's why they stutter, or it sound like a crazy sound because it's stuck or whatnot. That's just what I got from now. How you can use that to reverse the situation or help, I have no idea. But I think I just felt that was I think that was well worth noting when all that came together, which is interesting. Which, to go back to what I was saying, what I always say, that's why this type of information, or being within the conscious realm or not, or being about the business of educating yourself, period, is a great thing, because you just never know when you train your mind to always be in a studious mode to some degree. There's no telling what type of breakthrough you can have, or you may come across something that you may figure something out that may be a major breakthrough, not only for you but for the world in general. I think that would be one. Like I say, but the only thing about it is I wouldn't know how to reverse that. But I will say, maybe back when we were a little bit more, before we fell to the level that we fell to, there may have very well been even though I say this is a problem that's been going on for, this ain't, I don't think, I wouldn't, I was sitting to think about autism and stuff, and it could be, so maybe I'm giving them too much credit, because they could be doing something to make people born like that. But I almost doubt it, because even when you well, I don't know if that's a good example. Even when you look at like movies and stuff, or old, they refer like the old times or whatever, back in the game, you always had those type of people here and there, sporadically or whatever. But there's, I wouldn't be surprised if we did have the Camites or the indigenous people, period, not just in Egypt, because Kemet may have been maybe a little bit more popular, but one thing I can say is the same things that we were dealing with in Kemet, at least for the mythology or whatever. You can find those things. You can very well find those things everywhere. So that level of intelligence, which is high science. Even Bible was saying once, he was like, which I'm bearing witness to myself right now. That's how I figured this shit out. But he said one of the best things mythology is one of the best things you can get into. Well, he really said it is the best thing you can get into. And I agree with him on that, because mythology is just not, it's more than just groovy stories. But I was saying, when I tell you we are the gods, basically what I'm saying is these deities and these gods are basically explanations on things that stories and characters that we came up to explain different aspects of our psychological and biological makeup. Therefore, when I say we are the gods, I'm not just saying it. I'm saying no, really. From what I've been studying them hard body. From what I've been studying, that's what this shit has come to. That's why I say when you start, it's not necessary. Worshiping is, see, the word got twisted up. Worshiping, you do that, you worship people, entertainers you like. Or some people like celebrity worship. You need to start celebrity worship. It's like, well, not really. It depends on what definition you're going by. Because basically, celebrity worship just means to admire something. That's why when you do things for the deity, or you show them a particular type of attention, and you make altars and you are fond of them, you are basically just admiring them. So basically, to worship something is basically the basic definition of the word is just purely to admire something. But the other form of worship, what we think of when we say worship, we think of this thing of bowing down to something or putting something over us or having, oh my God, and whatever. When in all actuality, when it comes to these gods or these deities or whatever you want to call them, netters, or because God is really kind of like almost a Johnny come lately thing. Like I said once before, they once had Setawayo, which is a guy from the Zulu tribe. If you read Ancient Egypt Light of the World, it's a part of where George Massey covers a conversation that was had with Setawayo, and they asked him about God, and he said he didn't know what he said. He said he didn't know what God was. He said he didn't know how it went. They asked him. Basically, the way that they reference spirituality didn't even use that word. Because he was like, he said, man, we don't, he said, well, God, we don't, he said, all we know is our people who were once here and passed away, and those are the people that we contact on the other side of that's on the spirit realm. But as far as this one thing that was referred that, or as far as the concept that they were, or the context in which they were speaking of when they asked him about it, because they asked him something about, well, what was his definition of God, or something like that. You'll get the book, you'll see it. And he was like, well, he didn't know what he was, so many words, it's like he didn't know. He had to basically tell him, man, look, we deal with the elements of nature and the people who, and as far as spirits and shit, we deal with our ancestors that made the transition. The other thing we're talking about, he didn't know nothing about it. This is a guy in Africa. So, and I'm familiar with him. That I read about him. I seen that in that book. But you can also read about him in World's Greatest Men of Color, Volume 2, and get a little bit more on him. But, and that's basically what it is. I'm saying, you look at this one thing like, oh, praise God. It's like, well, which one? Or you had to be more particular. Because the closer you're going to get to that, what you're speaking of, is basically just a lot of energy. The universe is just energy. How I say the logos. The logos is spiritual. This, basically like this. Just this is the closest you're gonna get to it. It's like it'll be this. This is the logos of the word, but it's just a bunch of spiritual energy. This right here, the logos or the spirit or whatever. it's basically you can just call it floating energy or energy thought uh, thought stuff, and I've seen it referred to as that, or mind stuff that you funnel down here or funnel from the spirit realm, but you funnel it and create, take it and use it to create whatever you create or say what you say or do whatever you do. But it's not something that's weighing over you or whatnot. It's just so when we say spirit or the spirit told me or spirit said this or spirit said that, that's basically what we're referring to. Something was funneled down, and by the time it trickled down, just like I was saying about Pat and all that, or my stepmother or whatever, something from that realm trickled down, and that's when it came, or that's what I got out of it. But like I say, just to be sure about stuff, I like to take it one step further, which is possible. It's not a big deal. It's possible to find out whether or not that was just a channel in reference to her, or she's actually made the transition, which I think she made the transition. And I can really find out if I really, really just got down to some deep meditation. But yeah, so that's basically what that is. And but yeah, I think man, how did I get there? But yeah, but that's that on that basically. So that's really what I back to the stupid thing. I think that's just another. I have to look at the definition in the dictionary. It's probably in the dictionary. It's probably just like when you go and read dumb, it'll probably say somebody that don't know nothing or whatever. Then it'll have the other definition, which is a person that is or a state at a state of not being able to, or being incapable of speaking. And you may very well have that definition under with stupid too or whatnot. But I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is. So yeah, but it may very well have been a way to reverse that, because I even once heard Bobby say they had a way to reverse homosexuality in ancient times, and we just lost the art of it, or forgot how to do it or whatever. Which makes sense, which really makes sense. Because to me, it seems like to me, and like I said, it's not no. Like I say, man, if you've learned how to live, if you live like that, and you cool with it or whatever, I'm not saying that to, make you feel like you should be down on yourself, or you feel like you want to find a way to reverse it. Well, that's on you, but I'm not saying it like I'm saying, well, we need to try to figure it out, and y'all need to figure your shit out. If that's your case, if that's the situation you're living in, if you basically have learned how to accept that and live your life, then by all means or whatnot. I'm not saying that to try to slight nobody or nothing like that. I'm just saying that. So we may very well have been. I wouldn't be surprised because we were way more advanced than we think we were. Well, our problem is today is we have been tricked into believing that we were more primitive in ancient times, when in all actuality we were more advanced, and we fell from an advanced level. But with the whole concept of us not being as advanced as we were, with the whole concept of us feeling as if we were more primitive back then, is basically because when the world became ran by white people, they are basically referring to their history. When they came, before they were taught how to evolve, uh, they were in a more primitive state or whatnot. But what they did was they basically just spoke it as if everybody was like that, when in all actuality we were more advanced. And that's a big problem for us, because we we tend to automatically think that the further back in time you go, the less advanced we were or whatnot. When in all actuality that's false. And one of the reasons we think that is based off of technology. We think that just because the technology that we have right now may be greater than what we had in the 90s or the 80s or something, we think that we've always been in a constant state of advancing, and that we think about evolving within that sense. But who's even that? Who knows what type of electronic shit we had back then? Because like I said, a lot of shit got buried. So a lot of stuff that we have now, and I'm just not gonna quote me on this, take this as law, but a lot of stuff that we have now may very well be re-emerging technology. Because even like, I don't think, I'm not sure, but we may have, but I once saw a book where, what's the name of that book? I think it was called Ancient Technology of Egypt or something. I never got the book, but I read it, I skimmed through it in Barnes and Nobles. And, but you can see this on, I've also seen YouTube videos on it or whatever, and saw like certain videos floating on Facebook and stuff and Instagram about it, but I saw in this book where they had like hieroglyphs with shit that like helicopters and airplanes and shit. So we could have very well had that, but I'll lean more so to saying that was more so some futuristic shit. That was more so like prophecy saying this is what it's going to be in the future. And that's not too far-fetched, because like I said, when you go watch Sambo Black All of Asia, everything that we're going through now, everything that we went through, slavery and all that, is all written on the wall in Asia, which is another reason why it's good to not just get stuck in one area. Don't just get stuck in studying Africa, because what makes doing that is really stuck in one place. Because like I said, everything, like I said, man, the stuff I've been finding shit from Micronesia, and just like some small islands and shit, Australia, Slavic people, all kind of shit, like real groovy shit from all over the world, which further confirms that which I can really use to confirm the fact that everything we did in Kemet, we did everywhere else. It was just different versions and different stories, and sometimes even a name. Sometimes it'll be a name that was in one place that'll mean one thing or refer to one thing, and then it'll be the same name in another place, but it'll refer to something that is of the opposite nature of that. But it's I can pretty much confirm that all this stuff was everywhere, and but one thing people got to understand is that, like I said, when you hear them guys like, well, Egypt was over here first and this, that, and the third. I'm not saying we wasn't doing nothing over here, but like I said, I already told you the story about the Hermetic prophecy. We were saying it'll be a land that's not established. We're just speaking about America. So if it wasn't established, that means it wasn't as built up as Kemet or Egypt. But one thing we always got to understand is the Pangea. When the whole world was all together, shit was happening. Like when the world was operating, like, for example, you have to look at Kemet, for example, like we just say, and maybe more than a microcosm, but just to be on the safe side, I'll say a microcosm. You had Kemet, which is Egypt, But the fucking rulers of Egypt was ruling shit from Egypt all the way out up in Asia and shit. Empire. It's called an empire. Uh, um, so when all this shit was together, who was to say that Kemet wasn't the main land, but just was running shit all over the world since everything was closer, but Egypt was the main land. Therefore, when you say you found, when you start saying they found pyramids and shit in the Grand Canyons, and you start seeing all these names over here named after Egyptian places over there, who was to say that that just wasn't, that couldn't come from a time where everything was all together and the pharaohs or the king or the kings or whatever was maybe located in Egypt, but the empire stretched all the way throughout the world. Cause like I said, when you look at the mythology, all these different mythologies from all over the world, there's a lot of shit that I'm telling you in America, especially in America. I've been reading up on a lot of American shit. Get some books on American mythology. American mythology, basically. Then when you're dealing with the Native Americans, like all Choctaw and Mayans, and you got, and then that's just the names you hear are the most popular. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, I've seen shit in North America, or mythology in North America, or whatever, they come from groups of people that I've never heard of, or I've never heard of on a mainstream level. So I mean, it was a whole, you know, in South America and all that shit, it'd be like different, like I said, you know about the Mayans and the Olmecs and all that, but there's other shit I be coming across, and it'd be like shit you never heard of, but it'd be right here in America. And then this place is shit that be referred to in other places of the world that I've never really heard of, or that's not really as mainstream or popular. Like I say, Micronesia, which is a bunch of islands and shit. That's just my spin on it. It don't really matter to me. Like, I'm not trying to debate the fact. If people feel like Egypt was over here first, and that's some, I don't know, because people, sometimes they go to the point where people like this. I've even heard people like kind of insinuate that all that shit over there is not real or some shit. So I'm like, we going too far for me. But for one, like I say, them 3 pyramids over there lined up with Orion's belt. So that says something. You can't count that all the way out like that. My thing is, I'm like, people like, well, you got Memphis over here, and you got this and that over here, and I'm like, so, well, how does that necessarily count out that all the stuff over there isn't for real and shit, or was it Memphis and all that? I don't know. It's just confusing to me, you know. But that's not the shit on nobody's thing or whatever. I'm just, you know, just making a point. So yeah, yeah, man, I didn't really want to. I just want to finish that up, and I had one more thing I wanted to share with y'all. And I got a lot of other notes, but I think I'll go ahead and just make this one short and sweet. But I did want to share this with y'all about my little lizard buddy friend, who came. I told y'all about him, and this nigga, that wasn't the last appearance. I showed y'all, and then it was like, that nigga came back. I went on the porch the next 2 days, that nigga came back the next 2 days, and really was the only fucking lizard I saw. Was the weird part about it. I'm like, damn, I don't even see no other lizard. The only nigga left or some shit. Or some shit. I guess, you know, they getting ready to get out the way for winter or something, but he was the only nigga left. But he came back twice, staring at a nigga and shit. I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. I'll say these, you know, these animals, man, we fell off to the point to where, that's why I said I gotta watch the Jungle Book. I think there's some science in this shit. Like I say, as humans and whatnot, we have fell off even more so than we think. But I'm looking at how these goddamn animals, the more spiritual I can get, the more the goddamn animals is doing shit. And I've been telling y'all all kind of Jungle Book stories and shit for the past 2 years. And really more than that, when Mike's birthday coming up just tomorrow too, I think. Yeah, happy birthday to Mike, man. And it's crazy how I was thinking about it the other day. That boy Nate, you got Big Mo's birthday is with the 20th, and I think Nate Dogg was like I think Mo's birthday was the 9th. No, I think Nate Dogg's birthday was the 19th, and Mo's birthday was the 20th. But it's funny because both of them guys are like kind of the same ilk a little bit, like singers, but not necessarily R&B. They don't necessarily sing R&B. Most, you got a lot of that now, but when we was coming up, when you was singing, you was pretty much singing R&B. That's why them niggas kind of stood out. And one thing I want to say about that while we here is that whole singing and rapping thing, that little mixture thing, really, you got Nate or whatnot, but when you look at another level of really, Pac kind of started this shit, because you have to go back and listen to him. Hey baby, yo, you lonely? I'm gonna touch you. Lonely. All that was, not to disregard Nate, but like when you get into the jazz and everything that came after that, Pac really was doing. He just wasn't singing all the way, but he would harmonize in his shit. And then you had Bone Thugs, did they thing, but really Pac was on that shit already. He was already melodic. Hey baby, if you're lonely, niggas wasn't really rapping like that, putting that extra scratch on it, that sing song thing on it. I always meant to say that, but I always forget. I never really get around to it, but I'm glad I caught it right here. Now, one more thing I will say, I want to show y'all something. Now, Big, when I finished doing the first time I broke down the creation of the universe, I started in like 2021, and I ended at on Big, the day that Big made the transition. Without trying, it just happened like that. I done it, and then I did the last one, and it just happened to be on Big transition. And that was 369, because he was, March is the 3rd, he died on the 9th, and that was 2022, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, right? Now watch this shit. Now watch this shit here. Now, you see this? Now I was sitting in the car, right? And I was smoking and spitting. Now I'm spitting from somehow I spit. This is all spit. No, I'm not trying to gross y'all out. I was spitting, but I didn't. It was shaped like a V. I didn't realize it was shaped like a V till little buddy came through. Now, little buddy pulled up on it, and he started. I don't know, he was thirsty or something, but he was trying to like drink it and shit. I look at the animals like friends and shit. So I'm like, hey, don't drink that. No, you don't do that. He did the shit again. And I went and put some water out there. Like, well, maybe he's thirsty or some shit. I had put a little dish of water out there and shit for him that other day he came out there. But I didn't notice that till he ran by and he stopped in the part of the spit and started trying to drink it. So I'm looking. I'm like, hey, no, that's not water. And I gotta, I love animals and shit too, or whatever. But he had the half a tail. So I look again. When I looked at him in the puddle, and I look at the shape. I say, man, that motherfucker shaped like a V. And it's crazy because 2022 is 222, but the 22nd letter of the alphabet is V, which is today. That's why I did it today, which is the 22nd. But I just thought that was quite interesting to note or whatnot. But he had to have a tail, so that's what made me say that was the sign. He like, hey, tell this or whatnot. So I just want to, put that out there. But yeah, man, let me go load this up, man. I ain't gonna, this ain't gonna be as long as the other one. But y'all niggas hold it down, man. Nigga kind of tired and shit. So I'll get back over with y'all, man. Peace.